Hello, this is Gerald van Was. This is the second part after explaining tr, the sound combination of tr. I'll continue with dr. And more you will notice that I'm not just explaining letter combinations, how you can recognize them, that they have some universal meanings as well that can be applied to all the words that have these sound combinations if you do it right. And more there will also be shown a more practical application, not yet, but I will come to that very soon. But I will first explain dr and show you the difference with tr. Every time I fall back onto the way how we perceive letters, and there is a systematic order in the letters that can be used. It's also numerological, and here they are into a scheme in which certain letters really fit well to direct placement in place. Others need a timing frame, and a few more need actually much more context and are a bit more difficult to figure out, and also I have to work a little bit on to them to make them even more correct. But I will do so quite soon, and that's why I also practice a little bit with words that are combined with these letters of context, like the R is a letter of context. With the tr, we had a starting point, which was also in the middle into this frame of the time frame, which was quite extraordinary, coincidental that it worked like that. And the D, that's the part that really is in the starting point in the time frame. So a time frame, what is a time frame? It is a reference that you see, and you see, okay, here I need a starting point and a point where it goes to. So I have a start and a finalization, and this is my focus. It's different from the T, which is simply a focus on a place. Here this place is stretched, that it's not, these conditions are not immediately met, but they are met at a certain point in time, and this point in time has certain conditions until you see this correct point in time. The whole frame of knowing, realizing that is explained by D, and it is also in a way preparing its conditions and also explaining its conditions and pinpointing its conditions where the ends can meet, that you can reach that point. In a way, first of all, it started in space, but that point in space, any point in space, can be reached at a certain time. That's the D. And we connected the T with the R, the D, we can do that with the D, we can do that as well. We will have most of our focus onto the word drill, and the drill will also use the letter L and the letter E, which also will need some timing definition and some placement definition, so that we can see, okay, where does this drill is pinpointing it towards, and that's why we'll explain in the next frames. I already explained tr, which was basically the connection point in T that is connecting further through looking for a right placement and the right timing. So from there onwards, it's looking for that with this very easy form that explains it. But of course, there's more behind it, and that what is behind this arrow that is looking for a connection, there's actually a whole way of thinking behind it, why the R, which is representing it, why it is represented like that, because there's a thought process behind it that at some points it's quite needed to understand well than simply putting an arrow on something. There's something behind that. But it expresses it well, it's connecting itself. And by connecting itself into that position, it was turning it in itself. And it, in that way, showed a vibration in itself. That's the trrr. It's like a trembling connection also that you can make through that point in space, in the T, but that connection which was actually directed onto a point in space which was just in one dimension or one point, because that's what the theory says, it's there at that position, into that point, that vertical point in the frame of space, an orientation in one dimension. The R is connected with a lot more, and it is always falling back on that vibration. And here I will explain what that is, because thanks to that connection that we can make through that vibration, we can connect to that point in space, which is the trembling, which within one point it can be felt like a frequency, or like a trembling point that tends to go to somewhere. As a signal, it shows itself as a kind of point where it says yes, I will connect, no, I will not connect, yes, I will connect. And that's a bit like the telephone ring, but that also explained the brr, which was then not just in one dimension, in two dimensions, a vibration. So this vibration was like the shivering, like you have brr, that kind of shivering. So it vibrates double, so within two dimensions, and so like a singular vibe in trr, vibration, and doubled vibe in brr. But here I will come to the next level. I will show you drr, which is which is already a level further. But first I need to explain what is R is. The R is actually doing. It's in the contextual frame there of associations, and it is a bit more difficult to explain it. Why? Because there is, if you explain it from dimensions, it's very easy to explain the dimensions in space. You have just 3 dimensions in space. It is much more doable. It's still doable to also explain the 3 extra dimensions that you use to pinpoint something that is changing in time. So if you really want to have a good frame where the things are changing, how they are changing, and if they are changing the whole time, you have the full frame of 3 dimensions of time in which there is a direction found where you are at that moment within all these possibilities, like in G, F and P. But even more difficult is then, of course, how shall we express ourselves in this contextual frame? I'll come to that very soon. But what we will do is that these vibrations, or these maintained vibrations that I'm talking about, it is this vibe which I'm talking about, which is this reconnecting and reconnecting the whole time, which is R. There is a reason why it was made in nature at a certain point. Also, in my book I really explained how you come from ATK to EULB to CMX and so on until you reached a point where a vibration could be maintained, like life itself a little bit. It can be maintained. It really needs certain conditions that it can be maintained, And because there is this maintenance of this vibration that goes up and down, that you can also pick up changes and adapt and so on. This R is used for all of that. And the vibrations that were already in trr have these connection points also, like, okay, here we can do something with it. The vibration itself will continue. We can make a change. The vibration itself will continue. And the way how these vibrations in the background work, I can show it to you like this. So actually everything has a certain vibration, let's say frequency even as well. But if we want to see or show something very physical, we don't need much of it. We just need, what is the height of the frequency, what's the width of the frequency, and we know where it is, what it is. That's the placement. We don't need much more than just one point in space and we see it. If the things are changing and moving and so on, okay, it's not enough. So this vibration becomes larger. It's a doubling vibration. And we see it also, oh yeah, it's going from that point to that point. So a lot more things can be defined with it. This is the vision that you see with timings. So it goes from one vibration to the other one. And you compare them and so on. That kind of thinking is there. If it's a continuous vibration, then you can only pick up what's the rhythm there? What is continuous there? Because in a way, if there are more than two vibrations or a comparison, there is a continuation. And this goes on forever, let's say. It goes on beyond what we see. We only see a part and we try to measure it by comparison and by seeing that rhythm. So that rhythm is there the whole time, that vibration is there the whole time. That's the way of thinking in the last frame of context. And it defines actually the definitions. And together all we know and all what we perceive is within this frame of three vibrations. We don't see 4, 5, 6, 7 vibrations. That's too much for our brain. We focus on the number 3 all the time, and that's the way how we perceive things. And this is a sort of comparison that you can use very well. And that's what I will also use more often. So the big frame of everything what you see, let's say that this big vibration is the vibration of life. This goes infinitely. We don't see the beginning, we don't see the end, but we know that, okay, when the vibration peaks out, okay, we noticed, oh, there is something. We discover the thing. Just one peak is enough. We discover the thing. If there are 2 peaks, or there's okay, there are some changes, it's about behaviorism, it's about timings. If it's about the 3 vibrations, it's just describing what it is, what there is. It's about the things, it's about the definitions, the generalizations. This is the way of thinking of the 3 regions that is there all the time. So we have something that we can define with the letters that fit to space. For instance, when I put T on the right spot, I have at. When I see something in space, I can be really at it. When I notice something in timings, the vibrations go from there to there, you can know something of it, let's say. And when we follow the full vibrations of all of it, we can try to connect to what it is for real. But it's all a different focus, and all the letters describe the different focuses. But what I'm going to do, I was going to explain dr. before that, I needed some context. So what's the context in which the whole thinking process is continuing? Because it's very easy to describe things in space as physical objects, like they are described in the blue part. There you just make definition. That's there, that's there, that's there. Very easy. It's stable and nothing changes and so on. With the changes, it's a bit different. You need conditions with which to change and so on. The fourth dimension is, it's almost like an invention of nature that, okay, shit, I don't have the conditions now. How can I achieve them? If they are not now, cannot change now. The now will always be there, but there are certain conditions that must be met before we can have this frame, that we can have that now. And that now will change position in the future. It will use time for it, and it will use these conditions for it. It's very relative in a certain way, because certain conditions that are not there now at this moment in space, at t, they are also there somewhere else at another point, because the conditions are there. The conditions are always there. So time is also relative in that part. The D focuses on the conditions that are present, even if they are not here at this moment where you experience it. The conditions are there, so the thing is there. And here I had a description with the vibrations within one dimension, as you see. That's the 1 point vertical in T, where you had the vibration, the vibration itself, where you had, the vibration itself is like saying each time, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. You have all the possibilities within that space, in the trembling itself, in the vibration itself, in the frequency itself. And if you pick out the right moment, you go for the yes in all kinds of directions. Now, what's the difference with D? The dr, the t and dr basically are based upon the same sound. The t and the d are same sounds, except that the d is emphasized, so the t is becoming a d by giving it extra power. So it gives you something extra, you pushes it, and that's the push towards the conditions somewhere else, a bit further away, a bit further in time. These are the conditions. What are the conditions? The description of the D in my system, I forgot to mention, but it is in the, after the third dimension, you have the fourth dimension. So the dimension which mostly is associated with time. Like I said, it's further in time. You have the D, its conditions further in time. These conditions are projected in time, and you have these conditions. But the three dimensions are also there, and that's an advantage, because in the trembling, it's not so much space. It just you have an access to this trembling, or you don't. With the the three dimensions, or the three-dimensional access, is already always there. The fourth dimension are conditions, so it's also there all the time. Like I said, it is there all the time, but you still have to meet the conditions, but you can predict them quite a bit more easily, because, and it's also penetrates itself through the whole time that you see the space. The space is there, and the conditions of all the kind of conditions, they are present, and you have an access to this penetration with the vibrations the whole time. So that's the difference. The trr, you can see it into these three dimensions, and the timed conditions. The trr or the drr. They also, of course, they are also defined by certain certain limits. What is the vibration? What is the frequencies? It's still there. at which time in space will there happen a change. That can also be a question mark here. What are the words with drill? You have, of course, the drilling of the drill. So also there, the three-dimensional plane has an access the whole time to penetrate into it the whole time. The E has an idea to bring something extra, something new from there, from the penetration in this case or continuation. In this continuation, it will bring forth something. The L is the enlarged space in that way. It is enlarged formation. It can be any formation. The drill is what can be formed further, and because of the penetration, it continues into the space, and it breaches its space by its vibration. Drill is also training, by the way. A drill is a training. So, and this way you have these conditions always the same time, and something has to grow out. Here they are used as an opportunity. Of course, you can use them as an opportunity, and then as the same way something can be formed from it. Or there's also a word, drill, which is the frog spawn. Drill is the Dutch word for frog spawn. And also there are these conditions. The space is always there. It only follows this rhythm of this vibration the whole time. It's there the whole time. It penetrates it to the whole time. And at a certain point, when the timing is there, the conditions are there, these formations change. The forms are formed. It's exactly the same thing. And the funny thing is, in the drill also, I just had an arrow there on the L layers, and it looks a bit like the drill. What comes out of the drilling are the shapes of the wood and so on. Reminded me a little bit of the shapes of the frog that is being formed as well. It's a bit coincidental, but it all still fits with the sounds. In the drill itself of the drilling, it's only the place which remains, and the place grows. The drilling of the frog is something else. And then you can imagine why is it something different? Because a word only has one meaning. That's correct. Every word has only just one meaning. But it is associated with a subject. We never say it's drill. No, we say it's frog drill. It's kikker drill. So it is a subject that can grow out of it. The subject grows out of it. Not just the space will grow and we penetrate it. No, here it is within that space. We add already an extra subject, and it is this subject which grows. So basically it is the same thing. It's the same growing process from conditions in time and space. So is this always the same? So can we conclude really like R is that kind of maintenance, D are these conditions. So is this all about a kind of maintenance of conditions? Okay, let's figure out. We have the doctor. Yeah, okay, it's not a real word. The doctor. That's a title. Is this? Does this maintain its conditions by this title? You have druk as pressure of being busy, drang or urge. You have draad or threat. You have the drive, dreadful. You have a drie, which is a 3. Yeah, I always say like everything has 3, so it is. These are the returning conditions everywhere. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Okay, that's my opinion. Drecht is a gestation. Drop is not a drop. Is not the maintenance of conditions. But here you have the P as well as, and that's about an ending of a process. So I can still understand it. It's like, it's not that when a door is an opening, that you can't close the door anymore. If you say I close the door, okay, then you add the closing of the door, and then and you close the door instead of you opening it. The same thing here. Start with dr, with the maintenance of conditions. In a drop, I will just show you in a minute, and then with the P you say okay, but I end this process. You have try. Drammen, meaning pushing someone. You have drag. You have a lot of things that you can say, okay, is there here something of a maintenance of conditions? I leave the question open. Within my maintenance, this is connecting itself to just to be able to maintain itself, which I press myself towards these conditions so that I can and then finalize it with the next letters that follow. The drop, yeah, I was just going to explain drop as well. So you have this, in a way, the drop tries to maintain its conditions, but it ends as well. It has an ending. It's P. It's at the end of a process as well, where it is pressing out as well as the P, and it's the end of a timed process. That's these are the conditions of the P. Always it's in my system as the end of a process as well. And to drop something is also ending its maintenance. That's the same thing. So it is still correct. So yes, until now this conclusion still fits. And I leave it standing without much investigation further. The next video will go a bit deeper into some letters, but this was next chapter that could be useful to understand certain combinations of words. Thanks again. Bye.